Okay, let's let Doug introduce the topic here.
All right. I always love to introduce, and this is Team Talk about a topic that I don't get to speak about. It's about building a business while, wait, building a bit, wait, what is it, honey?
Growing.
Growing a business while growing your family.
And does that have any reference to your family at all? Like what?
It does. So, you know what? I have a feeling I might be back, so take it away.
Well, I mean, somebody was growing the business while she was growing the family. Anyway, okay.
True.
I am Sharon Farrar, in case you guys don't know, and I'm one of your national marketing directors. And Stacy and I are really gonna kind of moderate this Zoom tonight. We're excited to talk on the topic, and we want you guys to interact badly. We want you to interact, so you can chat. Hopefully, you see the chat thing at the bottom. You can raise your hand. You can unmute and try to dive in on a conversation even. We want your videos on. We want to see real life and not perfection. And so anyway, but I started sharing Juice Plus about 18 years ago when I was pregnant and I had a baby at home. So that is how I grew my business, you know, and now they are 17 and 18. And then I had another baby 8 years later, and that one's 10 now. So I have grown this business while growing kids. And Stacy and I met at a trade show, and it was a kids trade show. It was a huge one at a convention center. And she had a little baby in the stroller. And that was kind of the way we started our conversation, was about her son. And so anyway, she has also grown this business while being pregnant and having kids too. So anyway, I took some notes, but I would love to maybe hear if anybody has anything burning that they want to say before Stacy and I even chat about anything. What do you think? Let them say, if anybody's like, how in the world do you do this or anything? Any questions, comments? Oh, people are going to be silent. Unacceptable.
You told them they had to. You muted them all.
Oh, well, they should know how to unmute.
I know. Like, no talking. Wait, you need to talk.
I know.
They'll pipe in after. Maybe we should get going. Or right. They'll think of stuff to ask us.
Okay, well, I was just writing some notes, and I'm sure I can't remember most of the things that I did. But I wrote down a few things that hit me, and this one doesn't have anything to do with how I grew my family in the business. But I loved when I heard NMD Renee O'Neill say, "I would face 1,000 rejections to be home with you," she said to her kids. And so sometimes that is what it takes. I mean, it doesn't really. You gotta kind of blow those off sometimes. But really, it's really knowing your why. It's knowing why you're doing this. And what I always thought while I was building this business is I loved it. I loved it, and I still love it. And basically, instead of going and working for somebody else and building their business and never being ahead of the game probably or checked out where all the work is done, you create your own work in this business, and you build your own thing that you could be proud of and that can go into eternity, really, to go into the future. So I was always into building this business. I got excited about it. It was like my own thing. So, and I didn't really want to get caught up in the babies and diapers and all that. I did all that, but that wasn't where I wanted my mind focused. I really liked having that other thing that made me feel like I had passion and purpose and success, you know? So I just made sure I got out, I met people. And when I did have people over, I would have like a wellness event. I would have the 9 Simple Steps by Dr. Sear. So I'm going to throw it to Stacy, so I'm not talking too much. I have other things on my list, and we'll come back to that. But Stace, what did you do, or how did you feel back then?
You know, one of the things that I was thinking about is to do this business, like to really do it, you can do it part-time and you can just share with someone every once in a while, but there's a difference between like somebody who's okay just sharing it sometimes, and then those of us that say, like, I want to be a national marketing director. And there was a point where I said, I want to be a national marketing director. I think it was at the first conference I ever went to, and there was an NMD giving her speech, and she said, raise your hand if you want to be an NMD. And I raised my hand, and I wasn't to that point before that, because I remember going to an event with Sharon at the Smalls house. Remember that, at a boot camp, and just seeing like they had this beautiful house and they had all these people over, and to think like someday I would have a beautiful house and I would have people over and that I would have this big, huge team. It was just a world I didn't really understand. I had never seen anything like that before. You know, I had worked as a dental assistant in a dental office, and like there was one dentist that was making a lot of money, but none of the rest of us were ever going to make a lot of money as a dental assistant or working in his office. So the idea that you could build something and it could be big and that I could do that too, I didn't see that. But within a year that I went to my first conference, I had caught that vision that, yeah, this could be something for our family. This could be something that I could do. And it was really around that time that I decided I do want to be a national marketing director. And when you decide, okay, I want to be an NMD or I want to go for the next goal, your thought process changes from, okay, I'll share when this is comfortable, when it comes up, you know, I'll follow up sometimes, but I don't want to be pushy. It changes from that to, I have a real reason that I'm doing this for our family, and I'm going for it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to talk to these people, and I'm going to be about Juice Plus. Juice Plus is going to be about me. This is my business. This is something I want to do, and I'm taking it serious. So there is a shift in activity that comes with that mindset. Now, one of the things that was interesting for me at that point, I still didn't need the income with Juice Plus. I didn't do it at that point for the income. I really just thought, you know, this would be smart to have later on. This would be a smart thing to build into, to bring income for our family as a plan B. If something happens, you know, if something happened to Jared, I can't take over his job. I can't go work in the position that he was ever at. I didn't want to go back to work as a dental assistant. I wanted to be at home with my kids, and life happens. I kind of saw that with other people. Things would, you know, people had worked in a job for years and years and retired and got half of their retirement taken away. That was my dad. That was my own dad. That experience happened with him. And so I just thought, I can see that this is working for Sharon. I could see that it was working for Julie. I think Julie made NMD about that time when I was getting into the business. So I saw that it was possible, and I did think, okay, this will be smart for later even. So I'm really going to go for it. I really do want to be a national marketing director, and I'm going to work at that. The hard part was I had a toddler, and I was pregnant with our second, or by that time, I was close to having her. And then I had another baby 19 months later. So I had three kids in 3 years. It was just really struggling to keep my head above water sometimes. But it was something I was willing to fight for, because I saw that it would be smart for later on. I saw that it would be something stable that could bring income to our family. And it wasn't too long after our third was born, not even a year and a half later, that we found ourselves completely dependent upon my Juice Plus income, with one email from my husband's business being taken out from underneath him completely. In one email overnight, we had only my income coming in. So I would say, yes, this is something you can kind of just do whenever you want to and however much you want to, and that's totally fine. Just expect your paycheck is going to kind of offset your Juice Plus costs, or it might, you know, even pay for your family's Juice Plus. But if you want to build an income, you have to be willing to really be all in with this. And I saw Jules a minute ago shaking her head. Yes, there's a difference in mindset of what you're willing to do activity-wise when you really decide, okay, I'm going to go for that. So at that point, it's not a matter of, you know, it's hard with the kids being little, or, you know, I just don't know if I can find the time for this. That mindset wasn't there. It was, I have to pay the mortgage on this house. I have to do this. Like, this is how I'm going to keep us from having to foreclose on this home. Or this is how I'm going to keep the kids in the private school that I wanted them to be in. Or this is how, there was a reason behind me continuing forward with it. And I can tell you 14 years later, it was absolutely worth the fight. And the fight is ourselves. I had to learn how to discipline myself, to discipline my mindset, to do the work, to really plan out the day ahead of time, the week ahead of time, and to make myself do it, because everything else seems to scream so much louder than all of your DMO is going to. Nothing happens if we don't do that DMO. Nothing. Sharon didn't call me and say, Stacy, have you made those calls today? Stacy, have you followed up with that person? I had to do that. I had to really check my own mindset, and it was my reason why. That's what drove me to do that activity, and that's what kept me from making excuses. Was it hard? It was. I'm not going to lie, it was hard. But you know what else is hard? Bankruptcy. That's hard. Having your electricity turned off. Tough. Having to always be the one saying, no, we can't go do those things. No, we can't go on vacation. No, I can't buy you those shoes. No, we can't buy a new couch, even though this one has holes in it and is broken. No, we can't fix the car. No, we can't pay off that credit card. No, you know what I mean? So it's a trade-off. You're going to fight for something that gives you the option to say yes, or you're going to just stay in the same mindset, the same place where you don't have as many options. This business gave us options. It gave me the ability to say yes, and it absolutely was worth the fight. So I could tell you like little things that I did throughout the day, and I know some of you are going to share that, but that's really what was on my heart and my mind of, you got to decide, do you really want this? And then what are you going to do to fight for that? And I can tell you all these years later, I wouldn't give this up for anything. Like, I really am unemployable at this point. I can't go back to a job where I'm told that I have to be there at a certain time and these certain days. I love the time freedom I have. I love the connections and the relationships, the ability to be with my kids when I want to be able to go see and visit my team and work with them when I want to, the ability to pay cash for things. It's just a whole different level of mindset, different than just barely making it. And that's what I see, we would have been for years. And we don't have to do that. This does give you the ability to make dentist income from your home with your kids on your timetable. But you got to believe that it's true, and then you got to fight for it. So that's what I wanted to share, Sharon.
Wow, that's some major passion up in here. Okay, who believes they can do it? Who believes they can do it?
Who wants to be an NFT? Raise your hand.
Raise your
Say
hand.
it.
Woo-hoo. Seriously, the company wants you to get to the top.
Yes,
they couldn't
do.
do any more second chances. There's second chances for everything. And the business is made for people who are busy, right? And can juggle and work it in their day. And so let's hear from Jules. And then we're going to hear from Jamin. How have you done this, Jules?
Okay. Well, I have a few thoughts too, but let me see if I tried to write them down so I could keep it all in check. But I think I might win the award for building a business while building a family. Has anybody had 3 kids while doing Juice Plus?
Me. Oh, not
or more.
Wow.
See? Okay.
You're right.
So some people may have me beat, but I have actually had all 3 kids within the context of doing my Juice Plus business. So when I talk to people, I say, there is nothing you can say to me that I haven't been through. I've done this while I was single, getting married, and then being pregnant, having kids. And now we're in a phase of life where hopefully we're done having kids. And I have 3 kids under the age of 4. And I have got to qualify national marketing director while building our family. And so there was a few things I learned along the way. A lot of it I learned from other people, and a lot of it I just learned from making some big mistakes. And I hope that some of you here, either maybe you don't have kids yet, maybe you do have kids and you want to build a family, you want to get to national marketing director, that you listen to what I have to say and that you don't make the same mistakes. But we have heard over and over that we don't use our kids as an excuse when we're building our business. Can you guys raise your hands? Tell me if you've heard that before. Don't use your kids as an excuse. So I heard that and I understood that. So I didn't. I always did. I always said yes. I've always said yes. I've brought 6-week-old to conference, 1 year old to conference, 9 months pregnant, 16 weeks pregnant when I have morning sickness. So I never use that as an excuse. But there's a kicker. That doesn't mean go to as many events as you can while you have kids, or attend as many conferences as you can when you have kids, and you miss your daughter's first dance recital, or you miss the first day of school. That is not necessarily using your kids, or not using them as an excuse. It's having to do the income producing activities, not using them as an excuse. So this is where I got a little confused, because I get discouraged because I'm like, well, I'm not using them as an excuse. I'm going to a conference. I'm going to an event. But the key is that you bring people to the event. You bring people to conference. You're actually working. This business is not for you. This business is for you to share with others. If we're not sharing and bringing people along with us, then it's all for nothing. Then I can say I'm not using my kids as an excuse all day long, but unless I'm actually doing the things that move my business forward, then it doesn't matter. And so we have to do those, we call them in our house IPAs, income producing activities, and we have to be consistent. Because how many of you have said, okay, I'm not using my kids as an excuse, I'm not doing this, and you sacrifice some of your kids' things so that you can do something, and it doesn't work out, and so you give up for a little bit and you ride that roller coaster of consistency. And that was me too. That was another thing that I did wrong for a long time, and I was stuck at sales coordinator for a long time because I would go, okay, this isn't working, and I'd step back. And I love, Sharon sent me an article from John Halawadi, and I'm sure she still has it, she can send to you guys, but sometimes it's not that it's not working, you just haven't given it enough time. So we have to stay consistent. We have to keep doing those activities that we know move us forward. We know telling our story moves us forward. We know bringing people to events moves us forward. We know bringing new people to conference will move us forward. We can't give up. So we have to keep doing those things. Julie talked about the time block on that event, whatever, the One Thing event. If you guys didn't see it, I really recommend it, because this was one thing that was huge for me. Time block. I work in stolen moments because I have to. I'm hardly ever without 3 kids or 1 kid, but I do have to work in time blocks where it's uninterrupted time. And this is so important if you want to grow your business. This is a non-negotiable. Right now, the kids were in bed by 8 o'clock. I work from 8 to 10 pretty much every night. This is my uninterrupted Juice Plus time. You cannot do this with your kids around all the time. You can do it a lot of the time, but you need time blocked, uninterrupted, focused activity time for your Juice Plus business. If you're serious, like Stacy said, if you're serious about moving forward. Now, if you're not, it's okay. You can do this whatever. And that's what's great about this business, because there's no pressure. Nobody's telling you you have to. I'm not telling you you have to. But if you want to move forward, it is necessary. And then find your why. Stacy talked about, why are you doing this? And to me, my why is bigger than, having a nice house, having money. My why is my kids, because I want them to see their mama being brave. I want them to see their mama being bold. I want them to see their mama building a business that helps others. When I leave to go to Juice Plus events, Cleta says, I'll say, I'm going to work. And Cleta says, no, mama's going to help people. Maddox thinks when I leave, I go to help people. He doesn't know that this is, quote unquote work. And it's not. I am helping people. So change your mindset, change your outcome. And decide to leave a legacy. I'm leaving a legacy for my kids, for hopefully my team's kids, you know, because what I do, they get to do and they get to recreate, and it's the ripple effect. So that's all I have.
That was good. Awesome. I think the team with Stacy and Jules, and you know, they've been through it. If you really want it, you have to really want it. You have to make that decision and really go for it. And it's a non-negotiable, you know, you make it work. And it's kind of like a get her done attitude. You just got to get her done. However, you know, however you can do it. Okay. So Jamin, how are you getting her done every day? How many kids do you have?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I am the mama of 5, and I'm trying to get her done. The oldest one is almost 19, and then the twins are 4. So those are the age ranges. It's pretty fantastic. I'm trying, and succeeding, and at the most part, building my business through Facebook and events. So it's the way that it's working for me right now, which is pretty fantastic. You know, I'm not exactly where I want to be, but I strive every day to get there. And I try to do like the time blocks, but that's not always possible, especially during the day when there's no nap time, because we've kind of phased those out. So I just wanted to share with you guys what I do, and it's not quite as professional as everybody else. Okay, first I'm going to go over Voxers. This is how I listen to Voxers. Most of the time, if it's not like a quiet moment, I'll get in like the laundry. You know, I'll turn the Voxers on while I'm folding the laundry, or I'll most of the time, you know, in the car. If the kids, you know, we have the TV in the car, of course, because that's how we mama these days. But you know, they'll be watching a movie and I'll be playing the Voxers in the car, and you know, just driving down the road and listening to what I haven't been able to catch up on, you know, if we're on the way to the grocery store or somewhere else. That's most of the time when I'm able to listen to Voxers. The dishes are also a big thing. If I'm washing dishes or cooking dinner, I do a lot of Voxers. And you know, if you have moments where you're like, y'all are just driving me nuts, I can't even hear myself think, you know, headphones are amazing. You can just plug those babies in. You can't hear, you know, you can hear a little bit, but not as much. You know, the people that are on the headphones are way louder than your kids are at that moment. But that's a good tip. And I also have a Bluetooth speaker that I hook up if I'm in my room and, you know, the husband has the kids and I'm able to make that speaker really loud so I can drown out the noise. But I just want to encourage people, because it's totally possible. If I can do it, being the introvert that I once was and being the busy mom that I am, then anybody can do it. You can, an example, I was on a 3-way call with my business partner in the company, Terry Self. And, you know, we were kind of talking, and I said, you know, I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing right now. And she said, no, tell me what you're doing right now. And I was like, I'm cleaning the toilet. She said, that's awesome. I'd like to know what you're doing right now. So in those moments, you know, you can get stuff done while you're doing other things. So that's what I've had to do, because my kids are not, whoa, that was the Tower Garden. Thanks, Tower Garden.
I guess that was your cue. That's a pretty painting.
Okay, so a lot of the things that I could suggest, if you need a quiet moment, bath times are good. You know, if you want to sit them in the bath and let them play, and you can sit there watching them, but you know, far away enough not to hear the noise. Play-Doh, movies, you know, those are the things that I like to get my kids involved in while I'm building a business. So, and sometimes I have to actually run from them. You know, you just have to run from your kids. You go from one room, they follow you. You go to the next room, they follow you again. You go outside, well, they're there. So sometimes you just have to run, and run like people are chasing you, because they really are. And, that mama can have, another piece of whatever can wait, it can wait another few minutes until you get, what you were doing done. So, and I also would like to say, write things down, because I find myself not being able to, if I'm in the moment of something and I remember something like, oh, I need to call this person or I need to do this, go write it down, take a break from the game or the, story time or whatever you're doing. Take a break. It only takes a second. They're not going to remember that break that you had to take to go jot it down really quick. So these are just tidbits that I've, been able to use in dealing with, with my kids and business. And it's okay to lock them out. If you need to lock the door, just lock the door. They're right there. They can't get in. You're still able to, do what you need to do. Just lock them out. I'll be right back. If you need to hide in the closet for the noise, it's fine. I'll be right back. It's fine. So they'll be okay. I just like to explain to them, Mama's building the empire. Just stay right there for a second. I'll be right back. And, there's sometimes they're okay with that. Sometimes they're not. But it's not for very long. So, and I also use them. I use them as a reason to get out and do things like a play date, mom group, anything that you can get involved in that you wouldn't normally do. I've been able to make great friends, meet great people, team members out of those mom groups. So they don't always have to be, the problem in building a business. They can so be the way that you meet people, the way that you get into things. If I couldn't be in a mom group if I didn't have kids. So, that's important. And also, I also had cheat sheets, Jules. I also wrote my stuff down. Mine are behind the scenes a lot of the time. Most of the events that I have, they're either happy doing something else or, a babysitter. If you can't have a babysitter that watches them at home, then you find a babysitter once you get there, somebody else's kid or somebody that's already going to be there. You just have them hang out with them long enough for you to do what you need to do, and then you're okay. And why do I do that? Because I said yes, and I'm building it for them. I'm building this for my kids. So if they have to come along, like Jules takes them to conference. I saw that sweet baby Jules, and she is amazing. And if you need to get a babysitter, get one. If the husband can't do it, get a babysitter. Make it a priority, because it's going to take full time right now. You're building something, and that's huge for your future, for your kids' future. You're building what you want it to be later on. So it's okay if you can't go anyways. And don't use them as an excuse. Just use them as the fire that drives you to get where you want to be in life and as a mom, because I want to be able to take my kids on the vacations, and I want to be able to share what my kids have experienced with Juice Plus with every mama. Why wouldn't every mama want to just, give their kids such nutrition and be able to breathe or, not be sick or not itch or not, there's endless possibilities with nutrition that we're able to put in their body in such an easy way. It just doesn't make sense not to share it. And I've been able to experience awesome testimonies like everybody else on this, on this call has been able to. That's what makes it worth it, to be able to say, okay, you're locked out for 3 seconds while I go and finish this call because this mama needs me for 2 seconds, just hold on just a second. So that's okay. And people know that you're human. People know that you have kids. If they hear them screaming in the background, they're going to be okay. They're not going to judge you for it. They're going to be like, hey, she's a mama just like I am, and I relate to her. So in the famous words of my upline, we just say yes and figure the rest out later. And that's what That's what I've had to do with a lot of building this business. So thanks for listening. That's all I got.
Wow. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Who can listen to Jamin all night?
Yes.
You are hilarious. And I happen to know the name of your Voxer group, and I'll bet some people would like to be in there. And so you might want to Vox Jamin directly.
What is it?
I can't say it on Zoom. I'll get in trouble. Stacy will totally like delete me.
But she's
I will
as
message you,
wild
Jules. I will message you.
as crazy as you think she is. So just imagine. Anyway. But yeah, if you want to have that time with Jamin, I want to encourage you to get with Jamin on Voxer. She is just a dynamo. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to open it up to anybody who wants to ask a question. We're just going to do open mic or make a comment, because a lot of you guys, I see you are mommies. This is real life time. You guys know how to unmute? Should I unmute you guys?
All right, so we're grandmommies here too.
Jules says no. I know, Nalani, you're excused for now. I hear you on there.
I just want to second what like Jamin said. Well, first of all, applaud the people that are on tonight. And I see Nicole's baby, I see Allison's babies, and a few people tonight told me they couldn't be on because they had, different things going on with their kids. And in my head, I'm thinking, but you can still be on. And it's okay. Sometimes people can't see that. So since you guys are on, that means you have the vision that you can see that you can do it. So we have to give that vision to other people, and you have to give that vision to your team. And one of the reasons I do what I do, and Sharon has been so amazing at, like, she doesn't let me get away with anything. I can't do anything, and using my kids as an excuse. So now it's true. And so now she's like, he'll be 6 weeks old. She's fine. She can fly. Just breastfeed her the whole way. And so that's what I did. But you know what? If Sharon didn't say that to me, I wouldn't have gone, because that baby, but she was good. She was fine. And it's always been fine. I think that's one thing. I love this saying, like, what's the worst that can happen? And so I've started using that a lot. Like, what's the worst that can happen if I call a customer and my baby starts crying? I know, or I say I have to go. And so I think that if you can always think in terms of, like, they're kids. And it took, actually, unfortunately, having my third to realize that. I wasn't like that with the first. I was real neurotic and anxious all the time. The second, I got better. And the third, I don't care about nothing. I mean, nobody has talked to me in the last 3 months and they haven't heard a baby screaming on Voxer, on the phone. It's just a part of life. And I don't care. And I don't care because I'm not going to let what somebody else thinks stop me from building my empire. I love that, Jamin. Like, I'm building an empire too. And what you think about my kids screaming isn't going to stop me. And they're my babies. That's what kids do. A lot of times, if your kids are being annoying and frustrating, that's what they do. That's what they do. They whine. So let it go.
That's what they do. Let it go.
Let it go.
I think whining is the story of my life at my house right now. My kids are ready to go back to school.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Tony has a question.
I have a question, yeah.
Go for it.
How do you tell when you're supposed to deal with family and put Juice Plus aside? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you balance when, I don't know if I'm even.
I know what you're saying.
Correct. Because I get heavy-hearted because I'm like, and maybe I'm getting a little bit too deep for some people that don't know.
Is it mommy?
Are you going to start crying?
I grew up in a place where my parents did not care what I was doing, didn't care about anything. And so my heart is always to put my family, my children first. And I do want to do that through my business to be able to provide for them. But I also love being able to stay home with them because I'm not missing a moment. And I want them to know, like, they are loved, they're like care about every single moment. And I wouldn't want to miss anything, even if, like, I personally probably, you know, would miss a conference over seeing one of my kids play their game or a recital. So, like, how do you balance between that, like wanting to give them everything, but yet, you know?
Go ahead. Stacy wants that. She's been there for birthdays, I think.
Yeah. So, you know, part of it depends on the child,
Yeah.
because my son's birthday is October 23rd. It's always at conference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At conference, like right there. So I would just ask him, Colin, conferences this weekend, do you want to go with me? And the answer is going to be no. He would rather poke his eyes out than have to go to conference. Or do you want to have your birthday a week early? And he's like, yes, I want to do my birthday a week early. So he thought it was great that he got to do his birthday a week early. I could have gone to him and said, Colin, I'm so sorry. I have to be gone over your birthday. I know it's your birthday. I really love you, but I have to be gone. Like, I feel terrible that, you know, I mean, I could have put the mommy guilt on myself. He just thought it was great. He got to have his birthday a week early, always. You know, I just let him do it a week early. He's been fine with that. If I miss one of his games because I have an event, he could care less. Like, really, it's just Colin. He's not going to care. Now, my girls, on the other hand, if there's something important that they're doing and that Juice Plus would take me away, they would be, you know, that would bother them if it was something really big, not just anything and everything.
Right.
So you have to go by the child. And
Right.
I would say saying yes to this business gives me the chance to say yes.
Hmm.
A lot of times I'm thinking about Jamin, you know, she's working this business at home. If she wasn't doing that, she would be working as a nurse. Well, a nurse doesn't get to pick her schedule. A nurse doesn't get to be home at night if she's on the night shift and the child is sick. I did. You know, I never had to call and ask my boss if I could have time off to go to the field trip. I got to say yes to that. And I did tell that to my kids. Hey, you know, I get to go today because I do my Juice Plus business. You know, I have the freedom to do that. And they've all told me at separate times that, like especially my girls, just that they see, that because I do this business, it allows me to say yes to them. And I've said, do you feel like this business is more important to you? And they're like, or more important than you? And they look at me like, what? No, I've never thought that. So I don't feel that it is, and I don't portray that to them. So I would say it depends on the child, but often we put more of that guilt on ourselves than what the kids, they have to look at the bigger picture, you know, because that they are more big picture. Overall, are you with them more? Overall, do you go to their events? Overall, are you there for them? Overall, do they feel loved and valued, you know, all of the time?
Right.
Just because I'm doing a business activity doesn't mean that I don't value or love them. And that's going to come through by how I value and love them all the time. And one last thing I was going to say, Sharon, that I remembered I did with the kids is I taught them when they were young, if I was on the phone, and I was on the phone a lot more before we had Facebook. I mean, Sharon and I have done this a long time to where it used to be on the phone all the time. It's not that way anymore. I don't have to run, you know, throw pretzels in one direction and run the other way to keep, you know, on that conversation. A lot of it is through Messenger and, you know, on Facebook or on texting or on Voxer, way more than it ever was before. But I taught them if they needed me and I was talking on the phone, they could come up to me and put their hand like on my arm or on my leg. And then I would see that their hand is there. So that means they need to tell me something. I would put my hand over theirs to say, I see that you're here. I hear you. Or, you know, I know that you need me. And then the fastest as I could find a break, I would say, can you hold on 1 second? And then I would put the phone on mute, and then I would tell the kids, okay, love, what do you need? And they knew, like, If it really was something important, they could come to me and they could, put their hand on my leg. But then they also knew if it really wasn't that important, when I got off the phone, I would say, I understood that, you felt that was important, but was that really worth interrupting this conversation I was having with this adult? So I taught them some etiquette that way. And even in the car, when I'm listening to Voxer, if I can have my headphones in, I do. But sometimes I have to answer. I can't just listen. I need to answer. But I can't have, 7 kids in the back all hollering. So I would put my finger up, and they can hear I'm listening to Voxer. I would do this, and they would all be quiet. And they even had their friends trained. They would say, wait, my mom needs to leave a Voxer. I would answer the message, and I would say, okay, go ahead, you guys can talk. And then whoop, they would start talking. So even their friends, I would just do this, and everyone knew, oh, she's leaving a Voxer. So you can train your kids too. They are trainable. And you just have to decide what's the etiquette that you want them to know, because this is important. And it is something that's going to use my time, and that's okay. Mommy guilt will kill you, kill your drive with this. And you just can't, because if it's not this, then something else is going to come up. You're going to have to spend time somewhere else. So at least with this, I'm building something for our future. Otherwise, I would be working to build somebody else's future. And that doesn't leave anything for the kids, I don't have any say in that. So no mommy guilt.
Did that help, Tony? I know you want this business.
Yeah, that's helpful. I process later. Like, I'll think about it and process it later. And I know that for me, like, my husband's worked really hard that I've always stayed home. I've never had to, work. So, and I always wanted to stay that way, but he's amazing. And, but I do want this, but I have to process things. And your hubby just sent me a management thing, so I'll have to look at that.
Oh, yeah, he said he
Well, and I just want to say, because I know you guys might not know, but Tony has 4 kids and she homeschools. So that changes the dynamic a lot. And I think that it's easy for all of us as moms to get overwhelmed. We just get overwhelmed. That's why I just think I can't emphasize enough the time block and having the uninterrupted time, because it protects your kids' time, it protects your time. And if you're not doing that, you get more stressed out and you stop enjoying it, because your kids are at that point, your kids are bugging you. And it's not fair, because if you're trying to get to NMD, this is a business. This isn't a hobby. It's not a side thing. It's a business. And so if you owned a pizza shop, your kids couldn't be there bugging you while you're talking to customers. And so you have to treat it like a business. And so you do have to get a babysitter. You do have to have uninterrupted time. You do have to stop and say, wait a second, I can't listen to Voxer right now. My kids are driving me crazy and I'm not paying attention to them. And so I just can't overemphasize that you need, just take what your Juice Plus is paying you. You wouldn't have that money if you weren't doing Juice Plus. Take a portion of that and use it for a babysitter, and it will pay you back. It will pay you back more. And just remember that.
I loved hearing that from you, Jules.
I know. You taught me that, Sharon.
How do you think she got to QNMD? Oh, awesome. I mean, how many times have I said that? Oh my gosh. Well,
and I do it. My kids started going to school full time. It's not like, here's the thing. My big thing right now is integrity, because you can't say you're doing something and not do it yourself. My kids have gone to school since Maddox was 1 year old, 2 days a week. The latest I can pick him up is 5:30. I pick him up at 5. He goes from 8 to 5, 2 days a week. And I work my off while he's at school, because I know when I pick him up, I'm going to turn off Voxer. My team knows. They try to get me Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and they barely can, because I'm like, these are my business hours. This is when I'm open. And if you really need me, text me.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, any other questions or comments? We'd love to hear it. I know it's going a little longer. I had a bunch of things to say, but I'll leave a Voxer about it. But
tell us.
Who is that?
That was me. We want to hear from you.
Stacy, oh my goodness. Okay, well, I know a couple things that were suggestions from Julie when I had similar instances of frustration, was to go on errands with the kids. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Are you nuts? And that way you have the quiet time for really doing the business. So like drive yourself nuts really, and go ahead and take the kids with you on chiropractic, grocery, whatever, whatever you have to do, but you need that quiet time. So like what Jules is saying, if you don't have that quiet time, it's really, you're not getting the sanity that it might take to be proactive in this business and to do those money-making activities. And you can do a lot by being consistent and juggling and all that, but if you really want to make the most of it, sometimes you've got to have that quiet time. And then sometimes you got to just take a break, you got to take a nap, you got to relax, you got to stop trying to go against the waves of the children. I always say it's like going against the ocean waves, trying to do something with the kids, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. So then you just kind of wait, and it'll kind of settle out for a little while, and you get back to it. But you always intentional, just always coming back to it as much as you can, and you'll be able to build a business, and in those stolen moments, and just being intentional and consistent. Those are really, the way I made it to National Marketing Director was persistence and consistency. And that really is what builds the business. And I did hire mother's helpers. You can be home. It's not like you're neglecting the kids. You can be home and still have a mother's helper who makes, dinner, who helps with baths, who helps with homework, gets that bewitching hour, a little less stressful for you and your spouse, things like that. And then the other thing I did, as far as intentional, was I always got out of the car, even though I didn't want to. Okay, I had like 3 kids, and some of them were still in the car to go pick up another one. I got out of the car so I would meet people. I'd much rather drive through and just say, get in the car. But, just getting out and meeting people, arriving early, leaving late from school, saying, hey, why don't we go get a bagel? Having people over, hey, why don't we have a play date? I'll make some smoothies. You can try some gummies, or having wellness presentations. I always had wellness presentations to invite people to. And then as far as personal growth, I would suggest Audible, if you want to do the headphone thing, or podcasts, things like that. So those were some of my things. Just always making friends, always getting people on my list of who I could follow up with, being very intentional. I think that's it. So, all right. Thanks, Stace. And, okay. Anything else? We're here for you. It's mommy time.
Good night. Thank you, guys.
Oh yeah. Somebody said they do a lot after kids go to sleep. What Abby Griffin does is she collects information all day on people she wants to message them once the kids go to bed. She messages them after the kids go to bed. So that's another thing that you guys can do too. And Stacy wrote that she stayed up late, worked after the house was quiet. So yeah, sometimes, just stay up later than the kids. Try to beat them. Try to beat them at their own game. Oh, well, it's been a fun team talk, and we look forward to talking to you guys next week. All right?
Thank you.
Good night. Thanks, guys. Good night.
Thank you.